Hi everybody, I'm Mike and this is Langer at the Mic. The Montreal Canadiens, they've made a trade. They traded away now former captain Shea Weber to the Vegas Golden Knights in exchange for forward Evgenii Dadonov. Before breaking down anything to do with the trade, I want to lead by saying how great of a player and how great of a captain Shea Weber was for the Montreal Canadiens. On the ice, he played 275 games, scored 58 goals, and added 88 assists for 146 points in those 275 regular season games. He had a plus-minus of +31 and played over 24 minutes a game. Then in the playoffs, he played 38 games, scored 5 goals, 9 assists, 14 points for +8 at over 25.5 minutes per game. He was in the playoff run against the playoff round against the New York Rangers back in 2016-2017. He was a big part of the Montreal Canadiens eliminating the Pittsburgh Penguins in the bubble, and then really giving everything they had to the Philadelphia Flyers as they lost in 6 games in that series. Shea Weber and Ben Sherratt were a great pairing in that series as well. And then of course in the run to the Stanley Cup final last year, Shea Weber, despite the ankle issues, despite the knee issues, all the injuries that he was dealing with, Shea Weber still played arguably the best hockey of his career as a top pairing defenseman with the Montreal Canadiens on their run to the Cup final. And he was just a tremendous player, tremendous leader, and the Canadiens will certainly miss his presence. He wasn't very outspoken, but he just really led by example. Players respected him. Even guys like Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, and Victor Mete, when he was here, really almost saw him as a fatherly figure for what he brought from a leadership standpoint. So again, just Shea Weber, great player, great captain. Too bad his injuries ended his career, but he will certainly be missed by the Montreal Canadiens. For Weber, I just wish that he is able to recover. He obviously won't be able to play hockey again at the professional level, but I just hope he is able to recover well enough to be a happy and healthy father, a happy and healthy husband, and is just able to live a long and happy life with his family in his retirement post-hockey. So now let's get into the trade itself. And this is a trade that hugely benefits the Montreal Canadiens in the long term, from a sense that they don't have Weber's contract on their books anymore. As you could see, Weber has 4 years left at a cap hit of $7.857 million, which was originally expected to be traded to Arizona, because as you could see, he only has $6 million left in actual salary to be paid out on his contract. So the fact that the Montreal Canadiens are getting rid of this contract just gives them that much more flexibility and removes the concern of whether the LTIR or long-term injured reserve rules are going to change in the coming years. Who knows? But it just really buys them that extra flexibility in terms of managing their cap and not worrying about having to put his contract on long-term injured reserve. From a Vegas standpoint, it's pretty simple. The Golden Knights are simply trying to create cap space by getting rid of Dadonov's $5 million cap hit. The Golden Knights right now, they're over the cap by over $2.5 million. So they get rid of Dadonov's $5 million cap hit. They take on Weber's contract, which they'll be able to put right away onto LTIR. And they'll have to make a couple more moves to get clearly or comfortably under the cap, but at least getting rid of Dadonov's contract is a start. Now, the only downside to the Montreal Canadiens taking on Dadonov's $5 million cap hit is that since Weber's contract was on LTIR, Dadonov's contract won't be, and that adds $5 million extra dollars to the Montreal Canadiens salary cap, and that only gives them, as of right now, less than $2 million of cap space to work with. And that could change at any time if they make a couple of trades or whatnot. But again, as of right now, they only have $1.9 million of cap space to work with. But again, the good news is Dadonov only has 1 year left on his contract, whereas Weber has 4 more years left on his contract. And that is how this trade gives the Montreal Canadiens a ton more long-term flexibility in terms of managing their salary cap. Habs will get some cap space back if Carey Price and Paul Byron's contracts end up on LTIR if they're both injured to start the season. Now let's talk about Evgenii Dadonov as a player and what this trade, or how this trade, will affect the way the Montreal Canadiens will build their roster going forward. Dadonov debuted in the NHL back in 2009-2010 before spending a couple of years in the KHL, but then came back to the NHL with Florida, where he had 3 straight 25-plus goal seasons. He then signed a 3-year deal with Ottawa prior to the 2021 COVID season, and then he got traded to the Vegas Golden Knights. And last year, he still scored 20 goals and produced over 40 points in his time with the Golden Knights last year. Where this trade does make things interesting, however, is that it gives the Montreal Canadiens 15 forwards, likely 15 forwards who will compete for 12 forward spots, or 11 top 9 caliber forwards to challenge for 9 top 9 forward spots. Between Suzuki, Gallagher, Caulfield, Josh Anderson, Mike Hoffman, Christian Dvorak, Jonathan Drouin, assuming he's healthy, Shane Wright, assuming he's drafted first overall, now Evgenii Dadonov, Rem Pitlick, assuming he is re-signed as an RFA, Ryan Poehling, Jake Evans, Yoel Armia, Paul Byron, again assuming he's healthy, and Michael Pezzetta, assuming they keep him as an RFA. Again, that's 15 forwards to fill 12 forward spots, or 11 top 9 caliber forwards to fill 9 top 9 forward spots. What that tells me is that someone among those forwards is getting traded between now and the start of the regular season. Maybe Josh Anderson, wink wink, nudge nudge. It could also be Dadonov himself, since while he has a no trade clause, it is a modified no trade clause, which means he can submit a 10-team no trade list. Also, not to mention Jesse Ylonen and Joshua Roy, who had really good seasons in the AHL and Q respectively. They'll likely be pushing for roster spots next year, which further increases the likelihood that another forward will get traded. All in all, this Weber for Dadonov trade was a job well done by Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon. They got rid of the Weber contract that was on their books, or supposed to be on their books, for another 4 more years. They take on the Dadonov contract that Vegas was trying to get rid of so that they could get under the cap and so that they can try to make it back into the playoffs next year. And of course, Vegas could put Weber's contract directly on their long-term injured reserve, giving them the short-term cap flexibility that they need. Finally, I want to end this video the same way I started this video, by appreciating Shea Weber and everything that he sacrificed, everything that he played through, everything that he gave, and everything that he did for the Montreal Canadiens organization. He was a great leader, a great player, and a great human being. He literally broke his body down so that he could keep playing at a high level for the Montreal Canadiens. And even though his performance kind of struggled in the last regular season that he played with the Habs, he was amazing in the playoffs, a terrific shutdown defenseman, and a huge part for why the Montreal Canadiens made it to the final for the first time since 1993. For all those things, thank you, Shea Weber. What do you think of the Shea Weber trade? Are you surprised that he ended up going to Vegas and not Arizona? And what do you think is the next move for Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon? Let me know in the comment section below. But if you enjoyed this video, hit like, hit subscribe, give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Mike Langer for both. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again next time. Go Habs go.